Leeds.
Hello, welcome back to Imagine Not Being Leeds. This one's a little bit different. This video is going to be like a player rating, of the 9 games so far, to see what players are sort of reaching the potential and which need to improve. So yeah, a little bit different to the previews and the reviews I've been doing. With it being international break, there's no games till next Friday when we face Sheffield United. So I thought I'd put this one out there and see how I do. And just want to say thanks for all the subscribers and likes my videos have been getting. It's been a whirlwind start to my YouTube journey. Been 3 games in 6 days. A little bit of a break now, try and get on top of things, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So thanks so much for anyone who's contacted me and give me some support. Really appreciate it. So yeah, we'll start with the most famous guy at Leeds United right now, who's certainly not flavour of the month and won't be getting many Christmas cards, unfortunately for him. But yeah, Illan Meslier. So he's played 810 minutes, and he's got 5 clean sheets, which isn't too bad. 9 games, 810 minutes, 5 clean sheets. But I'll explain my reasons why. But for me, Illan Meslier gets a 4 out of 10. Might sound harsh. 5 clean sheets in 9 games. Sounds good on surface, but for me that's more of a reflection of what the outfield players are doing. I think he's a very nervous goalkeeper. When I go to the home games, especially, the amount of people I hear screaming to catch the ball because he just punches everything that comes his way. If he gets the fans feeling nervous, I can only imagine how that back four feels. He just don't breed confidence, and from your goalkeeper, that's what you want really. You need him to set the president front back and have everyone fired up and confident in the man stood aside of him. And if I were going to war, I wouldn't want Meslier next to me. You know what I mean? He's not someone I can depend on. So we all know what happened at Sunderland. I don't really need to touch on that again. It was a shocker. But for me, there's a lot of points that go amiss in terms of it's not a massive error on his part, but there's so many points that a goalkeeper can win you just from saving, a worldie, saving a penalty. He don't win us any points. I can't remember him winning us any points since the Dewsbury Hall header last season. I think it was away at the King Power against Leicester. And we won 1-0, and he pulled out a worldie in like 92nd minute to get us that 3 points. And honestly, if someone else can tell me in comments, I just can't remember last time. Yeah, he'll have made saves. He'll have had okay games, I suppose. I just don't think he's had any game really where he's won us any points. The Burnley game, yeah, it wasn't his fault. Solomon slipped. He goes through on goal. You just know as a fan, I'm there. You just know it's going to be a goal. The first shot that happens in a game tends to go in. I feel quite harsh saying it, but it's a 4 out of 10 for me for Meslier. I think he's here 3 seasons too late. And yeah, that's probably the harshest score I'll give on here by far. But I don't know if you agree. Let me know in comments below if it's low. But we've got to back him. I'm sure he ain't going to watch this, so he ain't going to dint his confidence what this fat lad from Leeds waffles on about. He definitely ain't going to care about my opinion. But yeah, I think 4 out of 10. I think for the potential he's shown is nowhere near, and is our weakest point, I think, right now. And I just hope mentally he can get over this after the international break. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that he can't just get back on horse and rectify that wrong, but we haven't got a choice now. But he'll start next Friday against Sheffield United, that's for sure, and we need him to be at it because we need him to get over that pretty quick. We can't be dropping any more points from individual errors as bad as that. So yeah, sorry Meslier, but it's a 4 out of 10. So we'll move on now to Pascal Struijk, or Struijk. I say Struijk. But yeah, he's played 9 games, 810 minutes. So he's played every minute so far, same as Meslier, and he has 1 goal. And my rating for Struijk is an 8 out of 10 for me. I think he's been absolutely outstanding. I think now he's having a standing as captain as well. I think he's a bit of a silent leader. He's not a chest pumper. He's a really quiet, very calm. And that's what I really like about Pascal. He's really calm, but he's like a Rolls Royce. He never seems rushed. He never seems panicked. He's got a really good first touch. His distribution's really good. It always has been. I mean, he played in centre at Park for for Marcelo Bielsa when Phillips were out, so we know what he's like. He can play, he can dictate a game from the back. Can Pascal? He's a threat at corners, although some people say he's got a 50-pence head because he doesn't always hit the target. But he's a threat in both boxes. He's 6'1", 6'2", big physical, strong player, and I think to come back from a bad injury last year, it's credit to him. I was just taken onto it. He's got a new partnership really with Rodon. It's had to sort of kickstart again, and I just think when you're playing with Pascal Strout, you just know, what I mean, to lefty, you've just got no worries. You just know he's going to be a 7, 8 out of 10 every game. When you compare him to what we used to get from Liam Cooper, and I love Liam Cooper, I did, but I just feel like he's just a class above. He's a really, really talented footballer. Is Pascal Strout, and I think we're lucky to have him. He's a Premier League player. I think maybe Premier League were a little bit too soon for him before. He only really came into the team when we got into Premier League due to injuries. But I think when we go up this season, I think he'll prove that he's of that level and he's got that ability. And I think the way he progresses ball forward from a centre half, he gets us going, and he's just. See, I really enjoy the defensive side of football, not just the attacking side. And basically, he's just a joy to watch. He's one of my favourite players, is Strauch, and that captaincy doesn't seem to be making him play any worse. Do you know what I mean? He's stepped up even more for me, and he just looks a man mountain and not really phases him. So for me, it's an 8 out of 10. I don't think he's had a bad game this season, and he's been right up there as one of the most consistent performers in these 9 opening games. Next is Joe Rodon. So he's played 9 games, totaling 805 minutes. And my rating for Joe Rodon, he started a little bit shaky, and these last 4 games he's looked more like himself than last year. But I can't give him the same as Pascal, so it's going to be a 7 out of 10 for Joe Rodon. I think he's showing levels these last 3 or 4 weeks of that player what we signed from last year. After the opening 3 or 4, a lot of my friends and people I spoke to at ground were a little bit worried, saying what's happened to him. He looked a bit of a shell of what he was last season. He started pre-season very, very shaky. I went to Valencia game and just simple passes. He couldn't make a 5-yard pass. It was going past his player, out of touch like. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was trying to get used to a new partner. Not having Ampadu outside of him, because we'd all probably agree that he played his best football next to Ethan when Pascal was injured. I don't know if it's a little bit. He had Archie Gray outside of him at right back, and he didn't really progress up the field as much as what Bogle does now, which we'll touch on in a minute. So I don't know if that was something that's hampered him. He's used to having another body to his right, so he's having to cover a lot more space now with Bogle roaming a bit more. And he just started off a little bit shaky. No major. Didn't cost us any goals in those periods, I don't think. Just a little bit shaky and weren't quite himself. And then he's really grown into that player we know, strong physical leader. He's a bit more of a chest puncher. Is Joe Rodon. Bit of a fan favourite, or could well be a fan favourite if he improves and gets to those levels we all sort of hope. We sort of think when we signed him in last season especially, we thought he was a Premier League player ready to go up and make that step up. He's probably got a little bit more to show for me to believe that. Like I say, I think Pascal is a Premier League player. I think Rodon has definitely all the attributes to be that. Probably just needs to show a bit more. Obviously the goal at Norwich, the penalty he gave away, these things happen, He should have stayed on his feet, and he went to ground and clipped the striker, Sargent, who knew exactly what he was doing. Great centre forward play, and he gave that away. It was really nothing game for us to get back in it, and we got a point there. But there's always going to be these little mistakes in games, I suppose. But I ain't going to knock him down to a 6 for giving a penalty away at Norwich. I think he's had a bad start, a really good last few weeks. And I'd say a 7 out of 10 is probably fair for Joe Rodon. I don't think he's been worse than that, and I don't think I'd give him any more. So, Jayden Bogle, he's played 9 games, 795 minutes, and he has 1 goal. A bit like Joe Rodon, again, with this one. I'm going to give Jayden Bogle a 7 out of 10. I think started off very shaky. That Portsmouth game, he did not cover himself in much glory really. A couple of goals could have been avoided. Him losing ball, not being able to get back in time, and I remember sitting there just thinking, oh, what have we done here? And having Luke Ayling last season, and everyone says he couldn't defend, but he could attack, but he couldn't defend. And I saw shades of that, and you hear how well he was doing at Middlesbrough, and you're thinking, have I made a mistake here? But obviously he's a lot younger, a lot fitter, and I put a lot of it down to Leeds United. It's Ellen Road, first game of the season, 37,000 fans there. That the weight of that badge, he ain't got that at Sheffield United. He's got none of that at Sheffield United. He was probably their most consistent player in Premier League, even for a side that were stunk out the Premier League as well. And to be a quarter of that back four that Sheffield United had, it's not great, but he definitely didn't have a bad season in Premier League. He did okay, to be fair to him. And yeah, I just think he started off really shaky, but I think by third, fourth game he sort of knew his role, and that he gets forward very high, and he hasn't got any goals. Sorry, he hasn't got any assists yet. But even if you look at that Portsmouth game, that Aronson chance that he fluffed in dying seconds, that were created by Bogle winning ball up and playing him through on goal. And I feel like some big chances have been missed that have come from Bogle's play, to be fair, and he's quite unlucky he's not got at least 2 or 3 assists to add to that one goal he got. But yeah, I think recently, a bit like Joe Rodney, he's coming to his own now, and I think these last 4 or 5 games he's been really good. So yeah, I don't see any reason to give him less than a 7, and maybe just not quite give him an 8. So yeah, I'd say a 7's a fair rating for Jayden Bogle. I think there's a lot more to come from him. He's got all the attributes to be an outstanding player for Leeds United this season and beyond for me. So yeah, next player is Junior Firpo. And Firpo, he's played 9 games, totaling 780 minutes, and for a left wing back, he has 1 goal and 2 assists, which is quite staggering in 9 games where he could have more assists, to be fair, as well. Like I just said about Bogle, players missing big chances from time to time, but Firpo, oh, my word, if you'd have told me 2 years ago he'd have his own song and he'd be a fan favourite, I'd have laughed at you and told you to piss off. There was just no chance that were happening in my eyes. He's nearly everyone's favourite player now. I mean, he's probably his most consistent player. I cannot remember the last game he had that was a bad game. Firpo, I cannot remember his last really bad game in Premier League. By the end of the season, I couldn't have told you a good game, to be fair. But yeah, he's just outstanding. Just what an athlete. His pace, his recovery pace is phenomenal, because he has to really dig in to get back, because he's so forward thinking. He's Dominican Republic's standing number 9 when they need him. And that goal away at Sunderland on Friday night, what a strike that a striker would be buzzing with. What Matteo Joseph would do to slot one of them away at minute. But yeah, he's just a phenomenal athlete. He gets up and down that left. His one-on-one defending's really improved as well. I don't know if that's because the levels dropped. Obviously, Championship's a lot different to he'll facing people like Mo Salah in Premier League. It's ridiculous levels, but there's still some tricky players in this league as well. And for how far forward he goes, it's credit to him that he gets back. And I remember he would always walk in yellow card. He seems to have curbed that a little bit. Yeah, he gets bookings from time to time, but you don't feel nervous now when the ball's in his area. When he's attacking or defending, you feel comfortable with Firpo now. He really has been a really good performer, and for me, it's been an 8 out of 10 start for him. Really consistent. I hope to God they give him another contract, whether that's a starting left back slot going forward in the Premier League. I'm saying when we're in the Premier League, because I'm not even going there with if. So no one needs to correct me on that. It's when, so I'll always refer to it as when we're in Premier League. Is it? Will it be a second choice, first choice? I don't know. That's between him and club to talk about and see what his role will be. But for me, he's earned a new contract and probably on better money. I don't know what he's on, but he's one of his top 3-4 performers by far now. He's in that leadership group. He plays like a captain. I love that energy he gives, that passion he gives. He gets it. He really gets it. I think being through adversity with Leeds fans has probably helped shape him, and created a bit of a steel there, because he were really struggling. And now, like, you see his reaction at Sunderland, storming down pitch. I don't mind that. If you've got no good to say, don't say out at all. And if he weren't feeling it, he didn't want to go to Melier and pamper to him. And like I say, if you've got no better to say, just leave it and get down tunnel, rather than sparking an argument. I've got no against that. You know what I mean? I love that passion. I love it. I'm all for that. We're Leeds fans. We love seeing his players cared, and hand in hand, he cares. He's passionate, and he's a bloody good player. So Firpo gets an 8 out of 10 for me. Next player, Willie Gnonto. 9 games, 752 minutes, 2 goals, 4 assists. That's just ridiculous. By far our best player this season. I think he'll get player of the year like Somerville. I think he'll get the best player in the league this season. There's just no one who can touch him when he's in this form. And he showed flashes in Premier League. Now he's just gone to a whole new level. It's like he needed that task of being the main man. Somerville had it last year. We all expected Gnonto to really be the star man last year, because Somerville were really in Gnonto's shadow in Premier League. We're all about Gnonto, and Somerville were quite a surprise, to be fair. But Gnonto last season showed flashes again, and this last month especially, with Georgie going and Somerville going and stuff like that, he's just stepped up. The boy's become a man. He's away on international duty for under 21s at Italy now. Maybe, I don't know if they'll give him a senior call up while he's in Championship. I don't know if that's the thing, but as soon as we're back in Premier League, he'll be playing for Italians, and I think he was starting for them. I think for his age, he's now got a bit of experience. He's got, for a winger, he ain't slight. He's small, but he's got a physical stature about him. He's quite stocky. He's really strong. Where last year he'd go down and roll around or whinge at the referee. This year he's riding tackles. He's beating 3 and 4. And best thing about Gnonto is, like, with Somerville, he cut inside and hit with his right foot, and you sort of knew what he were going to do. Yeah, you couldn't always stop it, but with Gnonto, he can go left and right. He's good with both feet. He can play right wing, left wing. He can play in 10. He can play as a false 9. I love how he can just float around that offensive space and pick up little pockets, and he drives at players. And a confident Willie Gnonto for me is by superior to any other player in this league. And there's some good players in this league, don't let the title of being Championship fool you. There's some hell of a good players in this league. But for me, Willie Gnonto is standout and will be the best player in this division, in my opinion, this season. And I'm sure a lot of you would agree on that. So Willie Gnonto gets a 9 out of 10 for me. The highest rating I'll give right now, a 9 out of 10 for these first 9 games. Started off good, gone to another level. Absolutely on fire. 2 goals. 3 assists, 4 assists, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 G&A in 9 games, and he's our main man now, and he's dragging us up that pitch, and he'll drag us through games and win us points that we might not have won without him. So hopefully he stays fit, because he's gonna have a cracking season. 25 G&A I predict combined totals for him, and we're lucky to have him in this league. I'm buzzing. What a turnaround it was from the start of last season. Next, we've got Matteo Joseph. So he's played 9 games, totaling 669 minutes. He's had 1 goal and 3 assists. For me, Joseph, I'm a massive Joseph fan, but I also need to realise that he hasn't done what he's there for, which is to score goals. But 1 goal and 3 assists, that's 4 G&A in 9 games. It's not to be sniffed at. He does a lot of the hard work. We used to say about Bamford all the time. He'd do work he doesn't need to do in terms of dropping in, dropping deep and winning balls. Sometimes when you're a striker and you're not getting that ball, and you're making these runs on shoulder and balls not coming, because we don't tend to play balls over the top usually. We have done a few more lately from midfielders changing, which we'll touch on. But sometimes you've got to come looking for ball, and he does that a lot. And sometimes you can lose a lot of energy, and then when you get it in those vital moments, and all you need to do is slot the ball away, you haven't got the energy or the composure to do it with your tired legs or your tired mind. You just don't put it away. And for me, he's doing everything right. The 3 assists also show he's a team player. He's got a really good pass. We saw that at Sheffield Wednesday. Brilliant through ball for his goal. And yeah, I think there's much more to come from Matteo Joseph. I don't think anyone should write him off. I think a 7 out of 10 is a fair rating. I don't think he's had many bad games. He's had a couple of quiet games, but I wouldn't say he's had any bad games. So I think anything less than a 7 would be harsh. Anything more than 7 might be a little bit too much, and I might get called a bit of favouritism because he's one of my favourite players. But yeah, I'd definitely say a 7 out of 10 is a fair assessment of where Joseph's been this season, and hopefully the goals will come because he's doing everything else right. He runs channels, he can out ball up. He wins headers, he wins flick-ons. For our style of play, he's a perfect centre forward. He's just young and he needs a bit of time to get if he could finish, it wouldn't be at Leeds for me because he's got everything else. He'd be a youth prospect in higher division for a club with more money and more potential going forward, like a City or someone like that to picked him up. There's going to be some sort of areas of his game that isn't perfect, and I assume looking at him, it's maybe his finishing. Maybe that's what's holding him back from kicking on to that next level. But I think all round he's a brilliant player and great asset for this club. And if everybody else is scoring goals and chipping in with assists, maybe he doesn't have to. He's a really good presser. So yeah, I'll shut up about Joseph now. 7 out of 10 for Matteo Joseph. Brendan Aronson, 9 games, 652 minutes, 2 goals, 1 assist. 7 out of 10. I think Aronson's come back and he's shocked a few people. It looks like he's slightly bulked up. He's been working on the physical side of the game in the off season, and losing Jorginho, we're never going to be able to replace him. He was a bit of a freak and a quality player, and gone on to Premier League as we know. But yeah, I think Brendan has filled that 10 spot pretty well. We've all been crying out for a 10. Some will still say we need a 10. I think he's doing enough. I think the way he presses, he really gets on front foot. He wins ball high up. He doesn't seem to be rolling around the floor as much either this season. He seems to, if he gets knocked off at ball, which he still does, he's still quite lightweight. He just gets back up and carries on. And yeah, that miss it against Portsmouth for a bit of that was almost the redemption act done in one swoop, wasn't it? But he got us the draw in that game. He scored against Wednesday as well in that 2-0 win, and I think he looks really hungry. He looks like he wants to be here, which is, like I say, his main thing after the last couple of years. And yeah, I think he needs to work on his shooting a little bit. I don't think he's the most threatening 10, but I think in tight space he's really good at wriggling out of 2 or 3 tackles, and he looks a quite neat and tidy footballer this season. And yeah, like I say, his energy will always make up for frailties in his game. Like I say, he's not going to get you 10 goals. I wouldn't have thought. If he can get 5 or 6 goals and maybe 5 or 6 assists, it won't be a bad return for someone who we all writ off. But yeah, he's got a long way to go to show his the potential of the value of money we spent on him. But he's had a really good start to the season, and I'm really happy for him. He were walking into a cauldron of hate, to be fair. I was there at first game of the season, friendly against Valencia, and he got booed coming on, and rightly so. I were there as well, and I sort of weren't happy as well when he were coming on. A quiet boo from my direction. But yeah, I wanted him to prove me wrong, and I'm really happy with him. I think he deserves that starting shirt at the minute, and it's his to lose. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for Aronson. So Pirro, 9 games. This is where it's a little bit crazy with Pirro. So he's only played 9 games. Sorry, he's played 9 games, but within those 9 games, he's only played 253 minutes. It's less than 3 90 minutes. 270 minutes is 3 90-minute full games. He's played 253 minutes, and he's got 4 goals and 1 assist. So he's got 5 G&A in 9 games, but not even 3 games in total in terms of minutes. He's coming on and he's affecting games. And I'm not a massive Pirro fan. I was last season, especially for opening 10 games. I really want him to do well. I want him to justify that price tag, and he's just a really awkward player in terms of what's his best position. I would say it's probably a 2 up front, but who plays that these days, really. But a bit of a mad one, really. People might think it's too high, but based on, what he's doing, how he's affecting games, and not... Basically, he's there to score goals. And the other stuff, the hold-up play, the link-up play, it's not the best with Pirlo. If he wasn't scoring goals, he'd probably be down at a 4 or 5 on here. But ultimately, because he's got 4 goals and 1 assist in 253 minutes, he's got to get an 8 out of 10. He's got to, because he's coming on and he's scoring. I mean, if someone played 3 games in a row and scored 4 and got an assist, that's Haaland. Haaland numbers, which is nowhere near, I know, but it's crazy when you look at the amount of minutes. You've always played 9 games, yeah, but some of them have been charity minutes at the end of a game and 20 minutes here and 10 minutes there. He's played less than 3 games worth of minutes and he's got 4 goals, 1 assist. I think the 4 goals have all been in these last 4 shots on target as well, I believe, or something close to that. He's like an assassin. He gets a chance and he puts it away. So on that basis, because that's what we use him for, we want him to stay in the box and we want him to put these chances away. We don't want him dropping deep now. If he's playing up front like he has been, we don't need him in that 10. He don't need to drop deep. And when Aronson's in the 10, we can have Pirlo up top, I think, on his own, because he presses that hard and, it allows Pirlo... I don't want to say lazy, because he's not lazy. He does put himself about, but the press from Pirlo doesn't have to be as intense as what it is from Joseph when he's got Aronson behind him and Nonto and Ramazani. And for me, Pirlo's just 1 chance, 1 goal. You know what you're going to get from him. He's infuriating when he drops deep and he gets the ball, because he isn't the best footballer, technically. But when it comes to finishing, he's got to be one of the best finishers in the league. He's certainly our best finisher. And for me, based on what he's done in the minutes he's had, he's got an 8 out of 10. Let me know in comments if you think that's wild. When I was putting this list together, I sort of thought it was wild as well, but I can't justify giving him a 7 when he's had less than half the minutes that Joseph's had and scored 4 goals and Joseph's got 1 and Joseph got... I just can't give him a 7 based on the minutes he's played for what he's give back for those minutes. It's an 8 out of 10 and long may it continue. Keep proving me wrong, Joel. I want nothing more, mate. Rothwell. So 9 games, 247 minutes. So he's only really just come in now the last couple of games after playing charity minutes. I'll use that word again for the previous 6 or 7. But now he's going to be a starter with the long-term injuries we've had. And yeah, I'm basing it on what I've seen from them for the minutes they've played, what they've give us. Like I've seen some other ratings on other channels, and I think they've had them quite low for them because they've only just came in. But based on the minutes they've played, everything I've seen from Rothwell, it's an 8 out of 10. It's an 8 out of 10. I know that's based on only on the last 2 games, but he's played enough to warrant looking at that and going, yeah, he's played 2.5 games worth of minutes, and it's an 8 out of 10 for me. He's outstanding. He's forward thinking. He's composed on the ball. These through balls he plays, we haven't seen it for a couple of seasons now. We haven't seen anyone really central midfielder wise who looks anything like this in a long time. Maybe Matthias Klick maybe might be the last one I sort of remember being like this. But yeah, do you think that's wild giving Rothwell an 8 out of 10? Say based on minutes he's played and what we've had off him, and I'd say what is to come off him. I think it's a fair rating. I think he's only going to improve as that relationship with Tanaka grows. Nobody would have expected them to play minutes together as a duo, and you can see why Southampton had him last year. That impact off bench. He can come on when games are tight and see a game out. He can come on and win you a game. You can see he's got that threat, and now he's going to be starting for us for the foreseeable for many months. And yeah, that midfield dynamics changed a little bit. We know Farke likes to have 2 holding midfielders play, but Rothwell's he's going to dig in and do dirty work. He is, yeah, but he's going to be much more threatening going forward. Like I say, he's always forward thinking. He's always looking up. He always wants the ball. And yeah, I think he's been outstanding. I think if it weren't for Willie Nonto, we'd have got man at match against Sunderland. And Norwich coming on 15 minutes into a game against Norwich away, when you have another serious injury to Gruev, he just slotted in like he knew we were going to be playing all week. And yeah, I think he's outstanding, and I'm glad he's got his opportunity, because at 29, with talent he's got, yeah, it's Championship, but talent at this level, it's a shame for him to be sat on bench. And I've said to someone before previous, if everyone's fit all season, Farker doesn't make many changes. It'd have been Jaden Anthony minutes, which for a player, as you can see, as talented as him, and I think it would have been a shame. So, someone's misery is someone else's fortune, I guess, and he's benefited from some really nasty injuries, and we're all gutted about it. I'm sure we'd all rather have Ampadu and Gruev in there, but there's a case to make that between him and Tanaka, they could make it very difficult for these players to get back in, and as Leeds fans, that's what we want and that's what we need. We don't want them. We've had too long where we've had people injured and they just come straight back into the team because we've got no depth. So yeah, I think for what we've seen of him, it's only a small sample size. What I've seen, it's an 8 out of 10 for Rothwell. Let me know if that's wild, but yeah, I think he's a cracking player. Gruev, 8 games, 624 minutes played. Probably one of my favourite players again, and I'm giving Gruev an 8 out of 10. Some will say he's a side-to-side merchant. He's quite risk-averse. He doesn't take many. He ain't a massive gambler on that pitch. He will make a 5-yard pass to sideways more than he will ping a 40-yarder across to your winger. But I think a lot of that's instructions from Farke, how he wants him to play. I think he's a very talented footballer, very clever footballer. He tends to be in the right place a lot. I don't think he's the best mover in terms of pace and things. He's not the quickest, but and sometimes he holds onto the ball a little bit too long. He does, but I just think when last time Gruev made an error, he's at 7 out of 10 every single game is Gruev, and you know what you're going to get from him. He's really industrious, and I think every player needs a player like Gruev. He just don't let you down. He's just another leader in that centre of the park, and for someone who isn't big in stature, his performance is sure bigger than that, and I'm really happy we signed him. I don't think he was too expensive, 4 or 5 million from Germany, and I didn't see him as a starter last season, but due to injury of Pascal and Ampadu having to go back, he got in that midfield, and for me it's been his to lose. Obviously it's up to the lads who are playing now for him being injured to cement that place, as we said earlier, but yeah, he's a fantastic player. He can take a free kick as well, which we haven't got many who can do that. Gruev, and as we saw in playoff semi-final against Norwich, I think he's a really good player, and his pass percentages are always high. He's a neat and tidy footballer, and I just think he's been one of his most consistent players this season. Hence why I'd give him an 8 out of 10. I don't know if again that's a bit of a wild take, but let me know in comments if you think that's too high for Gruev. Moving on to Ampadu, he's played 7 games, 557 minutes, and I think just on the basis of, obviously I'm gutted he got injured as captain, I think he started season quite poorly by his standards, and I think he grew into it. I think as the season's gone on, he was getting better. I actually feel the game he got injured in was his best performance. Before he got injured, he was playing really well, and I think last few games, you've really seen that passion. He flew into Hannibal when we played Burnley at home, and a bit frustrated, but he's got that physical side, and he flew into him, and came off worse off in that. But it's just that passion he fights for every ball. Every single moment on that pitch is a moment he can win, and he really does. He really tries that, and he's as captain. He's a young captain. What is he? 23, 24. He's a Wales international. Come through ranks at Chelsea. He's Premier League ready for me. He's Ampadu, and I think, if he wouldn't have been injured, we'd be now seeing best of him, because he was just coming into his own this season. Slow start, like I said, and a bit like Rodon, a bit like Bogle. They're improving as season goes on, and it's really harsh of him to get injured for a long layoff as he has, and we'll see him hopefully in January at the latest. But for me, I just don't think he's been as good as Gruev. So it's a 7 out of 10, which is a great score regardless, and yeah, I hope him and Gruev get well soon. Next is Ramazani. He's played 6 games, only 341 minutes, so only like 3.5 games, and he's got 2 goals and 1 assist already. So, like I say, not a large sample size again, but for me, it's an 8 out of 10 for for Ramazani. I think a wild take, definitely. I've been told it's a wild take. Joe Wayman told me it was a bit too soon to say it, but for me, he will be better than Somerville. I think even this season, I think he might not get Somerville's numbers because the squad's better as a whole. We're getting goals and assists from all areas. But for me, Ramazani is an ideal left winger. You know, all the attributes to be an absolute baller going forward. Low centre of gravity. One criticism, he could run at people more. He's definitely got more in locker than what he's shown. But for me, 2 goals, 1 assist. He can beat a man. His composure in front of goal looks really, really good. You know, he's had a couple of. He could have had more, to be fair. He's had a couple of wayward shots, I suppose. But you know, that goal against Cardiff, all that time to think about. We saw what Joseph did when he was for 1 goal, went against Burnley, and he missed it. Had too much time, and we saw Ramazani have something similar, and he buried it, and it was a beautiful finish. And then again, you know, the second goal he scored, won it against Coventry, outstanding finish, absolutely outstanding. I can't speak highly enough of Ramazani. I think he does all dirty work as well. He gets back, he gets stuck in for someone who, you know, who's not big in stature. Like he's not like Willie Gnonto. He doesn't look physically strong, but he can hold the ball up. He backs into defenders, and he really can front up. And he looks a real talent. And I don't think with those numbers, you know, 2 goals, 1 assist in that many minutes, I don't think you can say out less than an 8. To be fair, I think he looks threatening. You know, if we play Sheffield United on Friday and his name's not on that list, everyone's asking where he is. You know, Solomon now, fit or not, for me he's a bench option. I just don't think Ramazani comes out of that side now. I think it's all about taking your chances in football, in life. Someone can't do something, you know, someone can't commit to something, and sometimes you just get an opportunity, you know, a door slightly ajar, and you've got to rip it off at hinges. And for me, Ramazani's done that. Yeah, we're a little bit quiet the other night against Sunderland, but didn't have a bad game. He just was a little bit quiet in relative terms to the previous games. But for me, outstanding player, 8 out of 10 every day a week for me personally. Let me know what you think. Tanaka next, coming to the team later on. Only played 6 games, 241 minutes. So not even 3 whole games in terms of minutes. I think everyone is expecting him to just be different gravy, and me too. I've seen a lot, I've read a lot, I've heard what Farker's got to say about him. Physically, he looks like he's got all those attributes you want from a holding midfielder. I think he can play further up as well. I don't just think he's a natural 8. I think he can play, a natural 6. I think he can play an 8 as well. But for me, for these last few games, for the start he's had, for the minutes he's played, I just don't think he's been as good as Rothwell. And I know Rothwell's only really been the last couple of games, but I think I'd give Tanaka a 7. I think he's been solid. I think just going off the last two games, I think Rothwell's just shone a little bit more than Tanaka, but Tanaka's played fantastic. You know, I think he looks an absolute baller. Physically, just he drops in between centre halves. You know, you're not, for me, with a player like Tanaka, you're not really losing much of Ampadu's qualities. I feel like he's got all Ampadu's qualities in abundance, you know, and more. To be fair, he might even end up surpassing Ampadu in terms of, you know, where he goes in his career. Who knows? He's got all those attributes. You know, he's physically strong. He's a great passer at ball. To be fair, Tanaka's a bit of a leader too back there. You can see it already. He's fitting seamlessly, and you know, playing with Rothwell, it's a brand new partnership. And like I said with Joe, like he's just touched it like a duck to water. There's just been, how often can 2 crucial players leave? You know, come out of a squad, come out of a starting lineup. Your captain as well being one of them, and 2 players get thrust into it like in a crazy week where you've got, you know, some of your hardest games away from home, and yeah, we may have got 6 points, and we may give up 3 goals in his last 2 games, which we haven't tended to do much this season, but they just look phenomenal, them 2 in the middle of the pitch. You know, what an embarrassment of riches that that's our 3rd and 4th choice pairing. It's crazy, really. But yeah, I think Tanaka has got a lot more to show. I think he'll only get better. I expect, you know, big things from Tanaka, and hopefully if he has a long running team, he's going to be one of the standout players this year going forward. But yeah, I just think he hasn't caught the eye as much in the last 2 or 3 games as what Rothwell has. And I think maybe with his ceiling being higher, in my opinion, than Joe Rothwell's, maybe I'm just expecting a little bit too much. I don't know, but I think he's been outstanding. I think they both have, and some might argue Tanaka is an 8 out of 10 and Rothwell's a 7, or they're both on par. But whatever they're doing, just keep doing it. But yeah, it's a 7 out of 10 for me for Tanaka. And the last one is Dan James. 3 games, 223 minutes, 1 goal, and I've given him a 7 out of 10. It feels like forever since we've seen him play. To be fair, I can't even remember his goal, which is a bit mad. But yeah, he's an outstanding player. Is Dan James. Probably going to struggle to get a starting shirt back now. We're not playing so well, and having the options we've got left, I just don't see Dan James being a starter now. But when he's fit, what a player to bring off a bench for the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes. He'll get you goals, he'll get you assists. He had a really breakthrough season last year, and crazy numbers for what anyone would have thought. Him and Firpo very similar in terms of Leeds fans. Me too, wrote them off. Didn't think they were good enough for our club. Maybe the drop down in quality to championships helped them, maybe. But what a player, and I think Dan James could definitely do a job in Prem, even if it is just a bench role. His pressing's phenomenal, and yeah, like I say, I can't really remember seeing much of Dan James, but he's played 223 minutes and scored a goal, so he definitely hasn't had a bad game. So I'd say a 7 out of 10 for Dan James. I haven't given players who's played less than 180 minutes any ratings because they just haven't seen enough of them. Say Dan James has only just squeezed in there because he's done 223, but I can't recall much really Dan James. I know at start of season he were doing Dan James sort of stuff and he was starting, but yeah, I can't recall too much. So Solomon, Byram, Bamford, Geldart and Schmidt, I haven't even done any ratings on them just because it's been charity minutes, very minimal minutes. But yeah, Solomon needs to come back from injury and he's got to work hard to get his shirt back because I'm pretty sure he'll have been, maybe not guaranteed a shirt, but there'll be conversations, and he wouldn't have come to Leeds from Tottenham, if he wasn't sort of guaranteed or didn't feel like, he could make that shirt his own, which for me now, he's going to have to work really hard to get that shirt back. Yeah, he got an assist on his debut and, a really good goal for Joseph at his near post. It was a really good cross. And we know his qualities, we do, but we also know he's injury prone, and I just don't see him putting enough games in, run of games in a row to cement that place. If Ramazani can stay fit, I reckon that'll be Solomon's Achilles heel this season, that he just won't get enough game time. So yeah, and Byram's just a solid player to come on last 5-10 minutes. He knows what Farker wants him to do, and he can just slot in there and see a game out. But I like Sam Byram, but he ain't going to get many minutes this season unless he's even worse injuries than what we're already expected. Bamford and Geldart, he needs to be looking at moving on. I love him. I think there's a player there. I just don't know if it's at Leeds United. I don't know how long he can just stay not playing. It's his career, only get one goal, and it's not a long career. So yeah, it'd be nice if he got a few more minutes, but I just don't see it, especially with Joseph, Pirro and now Bamford being back. I don't see where Geldart gets his minutes. He's been used now. He came off a bench as a bit of a wing option against Norwich because we haven't got any wingers currently outside the two starting with Solomon and James being injured. But yeah, he's definitely not a winger. He's probably not a 10. He's probably a second striker, a bit similar to Pirro, but I just don't know where he fits in Geldart, which is a shame. Bamford, we'll see if he stays fit. Yeah, we'll move on. And Schmidt, yeah, he looks good. He looks like a bit of a Stuart Dallas, Swiss Army knife. Hopefully better than Jamie Shackleton. Can play multiple positions: left back, left wing, right wing. I think someone said he's played centre half before, so we'll have to see. But he looks good. He did a really good through ball overnight when he came on, and we should have scored from it. He looks a threat. We know he's played in Europe before. I think he scored the day before we signed him from the club he was at. So yeah, he's a talent as well. But like I said, I don't expect him to get that many minutes other than just being a bench option. But we'll see how he goes. But yeah, like I say, anyone who's played less than 180 minutes, I've not given a rating just because we're in a big enough sample size. But yeah, guys, I'd love to know what you think in comments. It's a bit of a different video. It can be quite difficult talking on here. Hopefully I've not bored you to death. Hopefully it's made a bit of sense what I've said. But yeah, I'd really like to know your thoughts. If I've underscored, if I've overscored on some people, just, you know, be nice, but let me know what you think. But yeah, guys, like the video, please share it about. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And I'll have some more videos coming before the end of the international break. Try to keep it fresh. And there'll be some sort of vlog for the Sheffield United game, similar to one I did for Coventry. But yeah, just turn your notification bell on so you know when I put another video on. Thanks very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Cheers, guys.